The mistakes and the turnovers continue to pile up for these Wolverines, but so do the wins. What to make of it all? Next on this week's episode of Michigan Podcast.
But there's going to be one team that's going to play solely as a team. No man is more important than the team. No coach is more important than the team. The team, the team, the team.
Looks deep for Anthony Carter. Waits for it. Hit. Caught.
Hey, they said you can't be Ohio State. Now what?
Brady gets terrific. Throws it. Get it. Touchdown. Knight again. Schultz just before Brazil got him. And a leaping interception by Woodson.
Harbaugh back to throw over the middle. Caught by Collier at the 5 on his feet. Touchdown, Michigan. On its way. It's good.
He's 5'7", 179 pounds, a junior at Michigan. But Jamie Morris packs a wallop, and he delivers for Bo Schembechler.
And here's your first play. Pressure coming. Sack. It is Glenn Steele, number 81, who fought his way through the traffic.
Option. And Robinson calls his own number, and he's going to score. Oh, an easy touchdown for Robinson and Michigan.
Win it. We're going to win the championship again because we're going to play as a team. And when we play as a team and the old season is over, you and I know it's going to be Michigan again. Michigan.
Go Blue. I'm Steve Deace, and welcome to this week's episode of Michigan Podcast. I am back from the friendly confines there at Wrigley Field, where Michigan came away with a win over Northwestern. That's the best way to describe it. There were times that Michigan was great. There were other times that Michigan was grading. All right. And I guess this is just what life is like when you have the youngest team in the Big Ten. And this reminds me very much of the 2017 team, albeit with a real quarterback in Bryce Underwood, or at least a real quarterback prospect. I think it still remains to be seen what kind of an actual quarterback he'll turn out to be. But obviously he has a potential ceiling way beyond Wilton Spate and John O'Corn and Brandon Peters, who were the quarterbacks of that team. But if you watch these two seasons, they're very similar. They're very unenjoyable for long stretches. The defense is still very good, and Michigan got off to an 8-2 start in that season as well. And then closed with losses at Wisconsin and to Ohio State at home to go 8-4, went down to the bowl game, had a 19-0 lead against South Carolina. In fact, Michigan had double-digit leads, I want to say, in 3 of its 4 losses that year, and went down to now I think it's the ReliaQuest Bowl, the one we played in last year. It was still the Outback Bowl back then. Up 19-0 mid-third quarter against South Carolina, and then just started a turnover spree, ended up with 5 of them and losing the football game. Any of this sound familiar? Pretty much the game Michigan played against Northwestern on Saturday. Michigan dominating this game everywhere but on the scoreboard, but still in control at 21-9 mid to late third quarter, and then a collapse. Bryce Underwood was responsible for 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter himself. That's right. If you go back and look at the rewatch, you're going to see he was responsible for the muffed handoff there on the 4th and 1 play when Sherrone Moore rightly went for it, by the way. And get into that if you want, but I think it's pretty clear it was the right call. And the football gods ended up honoring that by Michigan getting the ball back and then going back and winning the game after he made that call. But just a complete collapse. And Michigan had 5 turnovers against Northwestern, just like they had against South Carolina in that bowl game. Couldn't win that one, but did come away. And as far as I know, looking at the research, it's the first time in Michigan football history that the Wolverines have been -5 in turnovers and won a game. It's the first time Michigan has won a game with 5 turnovers since Rich Rod was the coach against Purdue in 2010. It's the first time anybody's been -5 or more and won a game in college football since SMU did it to Duke a year ago when it was -6. Now, the only way that you compensate for that is you've got to double, maybe triple the other team in yardage, which means you're just a lot better than them. Now, that's exactly what Michigan did. In fact, for long stretches, it looked like this was finally going to be hey, they put it all together and had a nice, comfortable win that we've been waiting for. And then it wasn't. So what to make of all of this? Well, I think sometimes, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody else, I think sometimes we can look for something very meta when really the solution is much more Occam's razor. Whatever's the most obvious and simple explanation must be true. This is just a young team. It's the youngest team in the Big Ten. It's one of the youngest coaching staffs in terms of time on task together in the Big Ten. We have a young head coach. And, ideally, Michigan is not a place for on-the-job training, but a lot of that is happening right now. In fact, I would argue all of the best plays that Michigan made on Saturday, most impactful to eventually winning this game, were all made by freshmen. On the defensive side, the biggest defensive play of the game was Jordan Young. With that PBU there late in the fourth quarter, if he doesn't make that play, I don't think Michigan wins this game. True freshman. Jordan Marshall, tremendous again, 64-yard run, 144 yards. He has a chance now at being a 1,000-yard rusher when he was the clear backup, through the first half of the season. Redshirt freshman. Bryce Underwood, absolutely phenomenal for 3 quarters until he had those 3 turnovers. He was phenomenal. He played like an all Big Ten quarterback for much of that game. And then still on the final drive through one of the best pinpoint clutch 3rd and 10 passes I've ever seen a Michigan quarterback make, layering it over 2 Northwestern Wildcats, putting it right where on the sideline the only guy who could get it was his own true freshman, and the guy who could get it, another true freshman, Andrew Marsh. Incredible 12 catches, 189 yards. That big clutch catch there where he got both feet in bounds. So that would have been a Sunday play, and he certainly looks like a Sunday player to me. Maybe even a round 1 pick at wide receiver. All the players I just mentioned, by the way, all freshman eligibility. Every single one. Every single one. And so maybe it's not any more complicated than that. Plus, the young coaching staff I mentioned before. We have one of the youngest offensive line coaches in the sport, and yet the improvement on that side of the ball, I think, is noteworthy. I don't think it's worthy of being, a semifinalist for the Joe Moore Award. I think that's just on reputation. But, we're clearly better than we were a year ago up front. And that's with 3 brand new starters up front as well, guys that we were not anticipating playing major roles for this offensive line this year. So there's just youth everywhere, all throughout the program, and it's just going to take a little bit more time than I think any of us want to have to take. And yet they're sitting here at 8-2. I'll say this: Saturday's game at Maryland will be no walk in the park. I don't think it's a trap game. I'm not sure when you play football the way Michigan does, there's such things as trap games. Like it's not like we were reaching some heights of execution, and then if you just let your guard down a little bit, like what would have happened, we're kind of slugfesting our way and scuffling our way through many of these games through various points. But you're not going to have Jordan Marshall. Well, Steve, why do you say that? Well, when Sherrone Moore says he's optimistic he'll be back for Penn State, that's to me code for he ain't playing this week. So you're not going to have Jordan Marshall. You're looking at Bryson Cudstall, who I have no idea how we got him as a walk-on, but you're asking him to carry a load he's never carried before, and the guy behind him, Jasper Parker, the true freshman, neither is he. So winning this Saturday is not a guarantee. In fact, nothing's a guarantee with this team, nothing at all. But if they do, they're 9-2. They go into the game with everything they want and every team goal on the line. And, given the depth of the Big Ten now and how the sport has changed, to me, that's the goal of a good year. You go into the Ohio State game and your goals of getting to the Big Ten championship game and the college football playoff are on the table for you if you win. And that'll be the case for Michigan if they win, more than likely. So it's not been the cleanest process. And I got to tell you, as someone who has watched every snap of this team like many of you have, it's not been the most enjoyable. This is not a fun watch many weeks. But in the end, they have the exact record we were hoping they were going to have. So what does it all mean? Well, listen, it's not been the cleanest Michigan football we've ever seen. And let's be honest, man. If you're like me and you've watched every down this team has played this season, it ain't the most enjoyable either. I mean, this is not a fun watch many weeks. In fact, I don't know the last time I had fun watching a game for Michigan this season, stem to stern, and I don't count Central Michigan because they're a scrub. So it's laborious, man. We're literally watching our favorite team go through a form of puberty here, right? And that can be awkward, up days, bad days, up moments, bad moments. That's kind of what we're seeing here with such a young team. But the record is still good, and they still have a chance at greatness. I don't think it's a great chance, frankly, given the way they're playing. But there is still a chance. Folks, the best way to support us here at Michigan Podcast is to do so via our Patreon page, patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. We are posting picks there year round, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's college basketball, whether it's the NFL, and of course, college football. Our win total best bets, you would have gotten those, for example, before the market moved. About half the books in the last few days moved on Texas under 10.5 down to 9.5. If you were following us on Patreon when we posted that, you would have gotten that before that number moved, right? So we give you all kinds of great data and picks, PGA major picks as well. We've cashed 8 of the last 11 majors in professional golf. So if you want to support us on our Patreon page, it's just $10 a month there at patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. That's right, just $10 a month. Patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. That's patreon.com/Michigan Podcast. And thank you so very much if you're one of our supporters already. Well, maybe we'll get a more objective take from our one and only Bucknut friend we have left, Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. You can see him right here on YouTube covering the greatest sport God's ever permitted on this earth year-round with an outstanding YouTube channel and lots of great coverage all throughout the Fruited Plain. So, Mark, I was just kind of laying out what has been it's been a very frustrating watch. It reminds me a lot of the 2017 team that also got to 8-2, winning a lot of scuffling games. The defense, a very young team. That was the youngest team in the Big Ten that season after the 19 guys that lost to the NFL draft and NFL training camps the year prior in 2016. The difference is we have a legit quarterback prospect. Now, I don't know how legit of a quarterback he is yet, but this is not, Wilton Spade or John O'Korn. All right. The ceiling of Bryce Underwood is not debatable. What's debatable is whether he's going to reach it. What's debatable is what is his floor. All right. And if you watch against Northwestern on Saturday, you saw both. For 3 quarters, he looked like an all Big Ten quarterback. He was simply sensational. And then he just had 3 turnovers in a barrage. The handoff that was Bosch on 4th and 1 was his fault, too. If you look at the launch angle there of where that read was supposed to go with a handoff was way too high. So then he turns right around and makes Mark as good of a 3rd and 10 late in the game clutch pass as I've ever seen a Michigan quarterback make. And I've been here for 42 years of these games. All right. So, you go through the ups and downs with a young man like that. But this reminds me a lot of that team. They also got to 8-2. They also had turnover barrages late in the year. So, I mean, I don't really know what to make of it other than, for me, year to year, given the overall depth of the Big Ten now, if regardless of what the record is, if we go into the game that season with a legit chance, if we win, of getting to Indianapolis and or making the playoff, then that's the goal of the season, is to get in position to be in that position going into the game. If they win on Saturday, which I think will be no guarantee, because we're barely winning these games with Jordan Marshall and he's not playing. All right, so no guarantee we're winning the game on Saturday. But if they do, despite all of this up and down and everything that's just been a hard on the eyes team to watch all year long, they're in position to be in position, and that's all you can ask for most seasons. But what do you think?
Well, for one thing, I caught your last maybe 30 to 45 seconds there. And did you say that was a great record at 8-2? Maybe I've been on this side of the rivalry way too long.
No, okay. I did not say that was a great record. I said that they still have a chance at greatness.
Greatness.
I don't think it's much of a chance, but I think they do have a chance still.
All right. Maybe it was just my Ohio State eliteness that was looking down on 8-2 there for a minute. You have to excuse me there for that. When he made that throw, Bryce Underwood made that throw that you're alluding to along the left sideline, I immediately thought of the Aaron Rodgers throw. This might be slight hyperbole, but the Aaron Rodgers throw that he made against the Cowboys in the 2016 playoffs, where he was sprinting left, made a ridiculous throw that only like 3 guys on the planet Earth can make, and saved the playoff game for the Packers because they could line up for a field goal. And I actually went and looked it up, and there were a lot of similarities to those 2 throws. That's what we've been talking about, Steve, for the last couple of months, is 3 to 4 times per game. Bryce Underwood being what Bryce Underwood is, and hopefully for Michigan fans will be on a consistent basis going forward, 2026 and beyond. It's rather startling, shocking, and jolting to an Ohio State fan to see what he can be when he lets it loose, when he cuts it loose, when he's not making the mistakes that he did, when he doesn't see a safety, sitting in the zone and not coming up to play the RPO as he did when he threw the interception to Fitzgerald and just completely missed on the read, and some of the things that he did. Most of the time, he manages the game fairly well. He gives you the splash plays. He just has to, against Ohio State, he's not going to eliminate all of those. So there's going to be a luck factor there, but he can't do that 4 to 6 times a game. He could do it a couple times a game, but that would be the thing there. Now, in terms of the entertainment value of these games, Steve, actually, that was the most entertaining Michigan game of the season. If you're just watching,
you're not a Michigan fan. You're not a Michigan fan. That's why.
That was a hell of a game to watch. Listen,
I had a phenomenal seat there, sitting in the Club Catalina there behind home plate at Wrigley Field. All right, on a beautiful. You can't ask for a better November day. 65, 66 degrees, light breeze. Trust me. Was not an enjoyable game. Despite the surroundings, if you're wearing the colors I fly, not enjoyable.
That was so much fun to watch. Whereas, yes, the rest of these games, Michigan State, Purdue on down the line, have been drudgery for the Michigan fan, because you're thinking, why can we not blow out this horrendous Big Ten team? For the rest of us that just watch because we're covering college football, they have been drudgery because it's just bad football. But that thing that was the thing of beauty on Saturday. So I got a stat for you, because this has been one of our talking points for a few weeks here. I looked at all of Michigan's peers in the Big Ten, both from a brand standpoint and also a playing standpoint, meaning Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, also Iowa and USC, against the teams that Michigan has struggled but defeated, meaning Nebraska, Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan State, the middle to the bottom. The average Michigan win is 26-19. The average win for all those other teams is 34-13.
It's about a touchdown. Yeah, about a touchdown difference. Which, if you watch
the aggregate score difference seems to just be enormous, though.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a touchdown per game. So, and I think that's pretty, that's pretty much where these lines would be set on neutral fields and stuff. I think that pretty much bears that out. So, one of the things I want to get your take on, as someone that's not emotionally invested in this at all, how much of this, there's excuses and then there are reasons. Okay. Excuses are why you cannot do what everyone believes you can do. Reasons are why you cannot do what people think you are not ready yet to do, or could not do on that particular day. Like, hey, Mariah Carey has a wonderful singing voice, right? But then she has laryngitis. So if the concert that night with her sucks, it's not an excuse, it's a reason, because everybody knows what she can be, right? Okay, laryngitis is a reason why that was not a good concert. See where I'm going with this? Okay. So Michigan is the youngest team in the Big Ten. I would also argue one of the youngest coaching staffs in the country, at least in the Power Four. We have one of the youngest offensive line coaches, and at our program, offensive line is like quarterback, whisperer in your program right now. I mean, that's the unit that drives the entire system of how we play football is the offensive line. We have one of the youngest offensive line coaches. We have a young coach. He just turned 40. Okay. If you look at the game against Northwestern, the guys who made the 4 plays that were the most pivotal in this game. All right. So Jordan Marshall, the 65-yard run, redshirt freshman. Bryce Underwood, the third down throw, the clutch throw there, true freshman. Andrew Marsh, who caught that ball on the sidelines with both feet in, true freshman. The possession before that, Northwestern fooled us on a play action. They have a guy open down the seam. The guy who gets the PBU and breaks that play up so Northwestern cannot run out the clock. Jordan Young, true freshman. All right. At Michigan, we clearly don't believe, and I think you, even as a Buckeye, would agree, we are not the place for on-the-job training. But when you look at the overall youth of the team and key elements of the coaching staff, how much of the unevenness we are seeing it's really not any more complicated than, as a program, Michigan's going through kind of a football puberty right now. What do you think? Is that a reason, or is it an excuse?
2016 Ohio State Buckeyes made the college football playoff despite not winning the Big Ten, with the youngest team in the FBS. And obviously a glut of them went on to NFL stardom, but they were also just humiliated by Clemson in the college football playoff. So if this Michigan team would get a bad draw in the college football playoff, it could be kind of ugly for them. It's a reason within reason. Let's say there can be no excuses at Michigan, but hey, these guys, unless something derails their progress, their improvement, each one that you just cited will get better. They will get more consistent. They will gain more experience. They will be smarter. Andrew Marsh, for one, I have no fault in his game to date. Now, maybe if we picked apart every play, we could find some of those things. I look at this Michigan team every week that they play these subpar teams in the Big Ten, and I think, why aren't they controlling and dominating this game? They're really solid in this area, and I go through the defense, and really what I'm coming to is very inconsistent quarterback play. And until Andrew Marsh, obviously came to the forefront and really emerged the last few weeks. No game changers. They don't have the tight end position superstar as they have in the past. And that's really what I'm coming to, because I do think that the defense is near elite. The numbers would tell us that the play on the field would tell us that. I don't know that the offensive line is of Michigan's standard in pass protection. They seem
that's tough to tell
issues.
Because you got a young quarterback. So how much is he holding onto the ball too long? How much is he not reading the pressure, right? That kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, so, when I look at this and you look at the amount of youth we are playing, and I wonder, are we over analyzing this? Are we over examining this? I mean, we're starting three guys in the offensive line right now, Mark, that we're not supposed to start at the beginning of the year, and they're all playing better than the guys they replaced, by the way. All right, and Blake Frazier, redshirt freshman, Jake Winara, redshirt freshman. So maybe it's just not any more complicated than that, and it sucks, but maybe it's just that simple. These are young guys, and they don't know what they don't know, and those are mistakes they have to live through and endure, and you're just going to have to, as a fan, suffer along with them. So the question then becomes, are we seeing structural issues then in the program or in the coaching that when these guys mature would avoid them playing to their ceiling, right? Like the decision to keep playing Samaj Morgan week after week after week. Mark, I don't know about you. Well, I've never seen a football team have 400 yards in 5 games in a season and not score 30 points in any of them. Have you ever seen that before? Michigan's had that 5 times. No. 5 times where Michigan got 400 plus yards in a game and couldn't score 30 points. I have never seen that, like, ever. In fact, if you look at the stats right now, Michigan is top 20 in the nation in yards per play. And the only team in the top 25 in yards per play scoring fewer points than them. We're 60th in scoring, but top 20 in yards per play. All right. The only team scoring less points than us in the top 25 in yards per play is a group of 5 team, San Jose State. Right. So a lot of that I can chalk up to youth, right? Inefficiency and execution mistakes. Okay. When I can't explain, I've never seen a Michigan player be allowed to hurt his teammates more for the course of a season than Samaj Morgan. It makes no sense to me. I have no idea. I don't, at this point, I'm close to just calling the FBI. That's just what we do now. When there's something in sports that doesn't make any sense, just call the FBI. I don't know. It makes no sense. I mean, I've just never seen a player, every week he does something to hurt his teammates while adding like nothing as an offset, like literally nothing. I mean, it makes no sense, and so that's a coaching issue. At some point, you stop blaming the kid for just being terrible at his craft and instead start, asking the coaches. You recruited 16 wide receivers. There's nobody else can just go out there and catch a punt for you. Just drop the ball and take the ball back. No one else can do that. Like, what are we doing? Right. And so that's then the next question. If youth is the reason for a lot of this, do we see some things that when youth is no longer a reason may hold this back the next year, for example, at this time from, being the kind of team that it looks like it could become?
Well, what we used to see all the time in sports, Steve, and you will know, is we would see preferential treatment given to upperclassmen. Mm-hmm. And we would see that based on just coaches being paranoid, based on experience factor, being conservative, not wanting to make mistakes, and holding back better, more talented players. But also, I think that there is a loyalty factor there. Now, whether Sherrone Moore has that with Samaj Morgan, I don't know individually, but there's a loyalty factor that we used to see it all the time in college football, staying with juniors and seniors who were not as good as the guys behind them, because I think that there was a connection there, working with this guy over and over and over for years and years and years. So I have no idea what's going on there, but yeah, people outside of the Michigan circles can see that. And that's almost become a running joke to a certain extent, this Samaj Morgan playing time business. And so I don't know what to tell you there. Now, in terms of Sherrone Moore's coaching ability, I think that what should scare Ohio State fans, besides him possibly having some kind of hex over the scarlet and gray, would be that I think players of that talent level, the guys that you just mentioned, you've mentioned about 4 players, they do have the ability to raise their level of play or improve by leaps and bounds in a week or 2 weeks. And teams are much different, or players can be much different 2 and 3 weeks later than they were, because of the growth of their ability and figuring things out at a quicker rate than what we used to see.
Final thing, I want to show you a graphic, because there's some of us think much of Michigan's record this year with all these inefficiencies is a product of the schedule. All right. So just for fun, here's Ohio State's schedule this year. And it seems to me, when you look at the schedule for the Buckeyes, that I think Michigan would be 8-2 against this schedule. I think you take the 3 games, Texas at home, knowing what we know now about how long it took for Texas's offense to gain any form of development. Week 1, we were kind of stunned, but then we saw this continue for like the next 5 or 6 weeks. Now it's kind of waking up now the last few weeks, all right, and then ran into Georgia, but about half the season, the Texas offense was really pedestrian. So Texas at Illinois, and then there's a third game there. Oh, at Washington. Sorry. Texas at Illinois at Washington. My guess is I think Michigan probably wins 2 of those games. Or at least wins one of them. I'm sorry. Michigan loses 2 of those games, wins at least one of them, wins all the rest of those games. I think Michigan's 8-2 with this schedule too. I can maybe argue trading schedules where now you've got to go to USC and to Oklahoma. There's a better chance that Ohio State's record is actually a game worse than Michigan's record is. I think Michigan's probably 8-2 right now playing this schedule. But what do you think?
We knew Michigan had a soft schedule before the season started, and it's pretty much been the schedule that we anticipated. We thought Ohio State not necessarily had some kind of amazing gauntlet to run through, but Illinois was ranked by a lot of people in the top 10 in the nation. Washington was probably supposed to be slightly better by most people's takes. Of course, Texas was number 1 in the country, not a fledgling top 20 team. So Ohio State's schedule has come down in perception, and obviously the Penn State game. So Ohio State's looking at 2 top 5 teams to start the season, and neither one turned out to be anywhere close to a top 5 team. Michigan would have that trip to Happy Valley that could be pretty tricky for them, as it has been for Indiana in particular. But yeah, I looked at that. I saw that on your rundown and looked at the schedule and thought, yeah, my best guess would be 8-2 as well. Illinois would have been an interesting one on the road. Obviously, Michigan was a far better team on that day against Washington, but they'd have to travel to Seattle.
Different in traveling.
And again,
I think they win one of the. I think they win one of those three, and they're 8-2. Penn State would be at Ann Arbor, by the way, because you guys played them at home. Remember? So
okay, yeah. That's right.
All right, good stuff, my friend. We'll talk to you next week for the game. All right.
Sounds good, Steve. Thanks.
All right, see you then. This week's Expo results, we asked you the following question. The thought of Samaj Morgan back to return a punt in a nail-biting fourth quarter against Ohio State in 2 weeks has you, A, reconsidering meth, which 37% of you chose that option. B, cutting yourself. Only 15% of you chose that one. That's my personal favorite. C, calling the FBI, which I just suggested on another front. 34% of you are there. And then 14% of you, I thought this would be better, cursing Joe Boo. I just think maybe a lot of you are too young for the Major League reference there. Which brings us to our feedback of the week from David C. Shaw. He says, E, all of the above. It would be coaching malpractice if Morgan is back for another punt the rest of the season. Frankly, it already has been coaching malpractice for allowing it to go on this long. What's the innocent or benign reason for that other than reasons? I don't have any, man. I don't. I've just never seen a player more inexplicably permitted to hurt his teammates in 42 years of watching every single Michigan football game. Like I have Samaj Morgan, with no offset. He does nothing else of any magnitude that matters. It's just all a point of diminishing returns. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't even know if the reasons are benign or innocent. I do know, though, they're dumb. That'll do it for this week's episode of Michigan Podcast. Back at it again next week. Until then, don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, share, 5-star review, comment here, whether on YouTube, iTunes, Apple, or elsewhere. All those things helps us to find more Michigan fans just like you. And you can follow us in between episodes as well at Michigan Podcast on X, at Michigan Podcast on X. Until the next time, I'm Steve Deace. Go Blue.